Hi friends, Laura here. I'm here for another day of BookMas. The video I'm going to focus on today is books from Netgally and Edelweiss that are high on my TBR, and I will chat through the first five I'm going to try to tackle, but I have about 20 books on this TBR. I am filming this in 2020, which is just the books that I got from my conventions that I went to in 2020 due to the pandemic and COVID. Real in-person conventions haven't been actually happening, so a lot of the way we get arcs now is through like these companies and through NetGalley and Edelweiss. So I've been really relying on that a lot, but I am a disaster at reading on my Kindle. It's just not a good situation. So I'm trying to like force myself to, or remind myself, I guess, to read. So I'm going to chat through the 20 books that are on my TBR, and then I'm going to tell you guys the first five that I'm going to be focusing on. But the first book on this TBR is The Van Beekers number 4. This book came out in September, and this is the only book that I got from Edelweiss. All the other rest are from NetGalley, but here's the picture. This is the fourth book in this series, and I think everyone was like seasonal. So I think we had a spring one, which featured a garden. We had a winter one that was the Christmas one, which is the first book that I read that I think is definitely my favorite. And then we had one, I think that was set in the spring, maybe the summer, that had to do with like a baking element and some animals were involved. This one has to go back to the garden and they find someone sleeping in the garden and they have to wind up figuring out and realizing that sometimes you can't help everyone and think the way that you want to, or you have to like reach out to other people. So this is high on my TBR. I really hope to get it with it. Her reads are really, really quick, but also I think super realistic for like life in New York City. Like the parents in these books are super involved. There's a big family. It takes place in the city right where I used to go to college. So I'm really excited to dive into this one, and I hope that I like it when I get around to it. She's a very, very like realistic writer. And in middle grade, you always have a lot of fantasy and science fiction reads, but you don't really have a lot of pure contemporary ones. And this one just always puts a smile on my face. The next book I'm going to focus on in this video is The Gilded Ones, and it actually comes out earlier in the year. But here is this gorgeous cover that I've had my eye on since the summer because we got an arc in like, or people got arcs in their fairy loot boxes. So here's the cover. I talked about this book in my fantasy reads I'm looking forward to this year. And if I'm remembering correctly, it's set in, I think it's set somewhere. Where is this one? Oh, it doesn't tell me where it's set. But it follows this society where Dika, she's anticipating her blood ceremony. She already thinks she's different from everyone else because of her unnatural intuition. She wants her blood to be the same, red blood to be the same color as everyone else. But when on the day of her ceremony, her blood runs cold, the color of impurity, and Decca knows she will face the consequences and the worse than death. But when she's given a choice to either be killed or escape her village from this woman that winds up coming to see her, she goes on an adventure. And it sounds really cool. I've heard really, really good things about this book. It's a little bit, and it also is diverse. I'm trying to read more diversely. There's a couple of books on my TBR that fit this category, like Song of Wrath and Rune. But again, it's just a different environment, a different setting, a different magic system that I'm really excited to dive into, and I hope that I really enjoy it. The next book is one that I really did not expect to get a copy of. I think I won it from something, but it's All the Tides in Fate by Adeline Grace. Here is this gorgeous cover. Just stunning. I really loved this book from Owl Crate when I got it in March or April, and I found it to be such a fun read. I really liked it. This is a direct sequel. It follows the aftermath of what happened in book 1. I definitely hope to get around to it soon. And yeah, it just sounds like a fun read. I really liked her writing style. It's like a sea-based novel. The first one definitely had to do more with the sea. I don't know what this one is going to involve, but I know it has to do with an artifact of some type. She's hunting for an artifact when the truth about her powers is revealed in the first book. Sorry for the minor spoilers, but I'm still so thrilled for this one, and this comes out, I think, in February of 2021. The next arc that I'm super excited for is Not My Summer by Cassie Baez. Here's a pretty picture. This one doesn't come out until May, so I have a little bit more time to read this one, which is good. I've been reading a lot of books about cousins recently. Like a couple of books I read recently had cousins at the heart of it. But this book follows two cousins at their grandpa's funeral, and their grandpa winds up leaving them a bucket list of things that they have to do together. And during this thing, they wind up getting closer to each other, and they also wind up unraveling the secrets of why the feud in their family. And I'm sure there's romance in it. But I love cousin relationships. I come from a super big family. I'm one of like 30 grandkids, so I have a lot of cousins. The last book I read that I really liked was 10 Blind Dates by Ashley Elston, which had a big cousin dynamic about, cousins drifting apart and coming back together. That sounds like it's going to be perfectly in line with this book, and I really hope that I enjoy it. And she's a really fun person to follow on Twitter, so I hope that I get to read it soon. The next book that I'm really excited to read is Sky Hunter by Mary Lou. Here is this gorgeous photo. Again, these covers are really making me happy for 2021. This one, I am unsure if it's fantasy or dystopian, but I can just read you guys the little brief summary on Amazon. But it says, a broken world, an overwhelming evil, a team of warriors ready to strike back. And it's a Draylen Lace novel about the lengths of one warrior will go to fight for freedom and those she loves. I like Mary Lou's writing. I have a couple of books still on my TBR, quite a few actually, but this one sounds right up my alley, and it's been a while since I read a science fiction or fantasy based companion group with a bunch of characters. I love found family as a trope, so I really hope that is playing into this. I also did get approved for the book club, and we're having a meet in January with Mary Lou, so I actually am probably going to make that one of my books that I want to read relatively quicker. But it sounds great, and I'm excited to tackle it. And I actually do have a physical copy somewhere in this bedroom because they sent it to me for the book club. The next book I want to chat about is definitely inspired by one of my more recent reads, and that's The Battle of Amy Miles. I think that's the name of it, yeah. The Battle of Amy Miles. It just came out in December, so it hasn't been out that long, but here's a picture. The Project is a cult book. This has a cult-like element, but basically it follows a young girl named Amy, and she knows she's lucky to be born in the survival compound called Heavenly Shepherd. But when her grandfather brings home a cold hard straighter, she realizes it's her destiny to get married, and she doesn't really want to face that. So with the help of one of her Hanses, she winds up set upon a quest to find her long-lost mother, and hopefully the mate of her own choosing. But as she journeys, she discovers many things about the world and about herself. So that sounds really good. I like The Project. I struggled with it a little bit. It's also a book that's coming out in 2021. But hopefully this one is a little bit more what I was looking for in my cult-themed reading. That's a weird way to say it, but yeah. So I'm excited to read this one as well. The next book I'm going to chat about is White Fox by Sarah Faring. This is also the author that wrote 10th Girl, which I have not read yet, but this follows two characters. I think it's a brother and a sister. After their world, Marla and Thais left their remembered home and are sent away to live with their father. The sisters drift apart in their grief, yet their mother's unfinished story still haunts them both, and they can't put to the rest the possibility that she's still arrived. And I think it's a very eerie and creepy read with possibly maybe a supernatural twinge to it. I know her other one was very gothic-y, and I like books set about in Hollywood, so sounds cool. I really hope to get around to it, and this came out in September, but I have not read it quite yet. I was supposed to read it for Halloween, it just didn't happen. I'm going to chat about is another one from the Rick Riordan Present lines, and that's City of a Plague God. Here's the pretty picture. subtle goals for 2021, I didn't write it anywhere, is to kind of catch up on all the Rick Riordan Presents titles because I've fallen a little bit farther behind. But this does have a plague element, which I think is very ironic for 2020, just ironic. But this is a venture based on the ancient Mesopotamian mystery written by Charlotte Sherman, author of the Ashy Misty series. And this is, he brings a less well-recognized mythology of ancient Mesopotamia with engaging humor and wit. And I know that it has like an element of there is a plague happening and there's a plague god that he has to kind of like tackle. And it sounds so fun. I really hope that I enjoy it, and I'm sure that it will probably bring up more conversations about the pandemic and conversations with kids. So that's not a bad thing, and I really hope that I get around to reading it soon. The next book I'm going to chat about in this video is The Taste for Love by Jennifer Yen. Here's a picture. When I read this summary for this book, it just like put a smile on my face, but it basically is The Bachelor meets a baking competition show. So this young girl, her mom is convinced she's like not focused on anything. Her mom runs a bakery and she does like baking. So when her mom kind of sets up this baking competition, she's really, she says she'll do it to kind of get her mom off her back. But what she doesn't realize is her mom has hired all these men that are really attractive for her to choose to be her next boyfriend or her next like arranged marriage. That sounds like a really unique concept, and I really hope that I enjoy it when I get around to reading this. And this one comes out in early 2021 in February. Just sounds like a cool concept. The next book I'm going to chat about in this video is Kissing Lessons by Sophie Jordan. Here's a picture. I'm just going to read the summary for you because I think it's just a funny summary and I think you guys will get a kick out of it. A steamy YA contemporary romance for the New York Times bestselling Sophie Jordan about a girl with a bad reputation giving kissing lessons on how to attract guys for some extra cash only to fall for her client's golden boy brother. For fans of Cami Garcia, Katie McGarry, and Netflix Sex Education. That sounds like a fun read. I actually got a physical copy of this book at ALA, so I'll probably read it physically. But it sounds fun, and I probably will read a bunch of contemporaries in February, so this one is going to be high on the list for that. The next book I'm going to chat about is Unbirthday, which is by Liz Brashwell, and it's one of the Twisted Tales. Here's this picture. Again, a very, very pretty picture. I would also love to catch up on this series, and every book in this series answers like a different question. I've definitely had my favorites in this series and my least favorites, but the question that this one is tackling is, what if Wonderland was in peril and Alice was very, very late? And I'm just really excited. I like Alice in Wonderland. That is like one of my shows that I want to do so badly at my school, but I have to wait until I have tenure before I do that one because of the teacher that I came before me did that one. But I really, really like this. I have quite a few that I still have to read in this section, but this is one that I'm really excited to get to. And Haley in Bookland has been telling me to read it for like months and months and months. She hasn't read it, but it's been on her TBR, so it inspired me to read it as well. The next book I'm going to chat about is actually a series, so it's Namesake and Fable. Fable's first from Adrienne Young. Here's the picture. Fable came out in the early fall, and Namesake is coming out in January or February, I think. And this is another sea-based novel. I read Sky in the Deep, and I liked it. I didn't love it. I didn't get around to reading her companion book to that, but I'm hopeful that this series will entice me a little bit more, but it has to do with the sea. And I've been actually inspired to read a lot more sea-themed books in 2020, and I hope that continues in 2021 as well. The next book that I'm going to chat about in this video is called The Trouble with Good Ideas by Amanda Panache. That comes out January 5th. This is a middle grade book, and I'll just read you guys the little blurb that I found, but it says, from the author comes The Trouble with Good Ideas, a hilarious middle grade novel about magical twists about a girl, a golem, and her ailing grandfather, perfect for fans of the 14th Goldfish. And this is about a young character that doesn't like change, which sounds eerily like me because I don't like change either. As all my friends, I'm not a big fan of change, but I hope they like this book as well. The next book I'm going to chat about is one that came out earlier in the year, and that is Only Mostly Devastated by Sofia Gonzalez, I think. And here's a picture. I don't want to read too much about this because, like, summers and stuff, but I know that it is an LGBTQ romance, and it just sounds very, very fun. And the next book is also sort of in the same vein, and that is Extraordinaries by T.J. Kuhn, the author that wrote House on the Cerulean Sea, which I did not know that they were the same person until I just looked it up just now. So this is an LGBTQ novel, but featuring superheroes. And earlier this year, I read Super Adjacent by Crystal Ciceri that I really liked. And I'm hopeful that this book will kind of dive in a little bit deeper. And I like the superhero genre. And I also like unique takes on the superhero genre. And I think this young man falls for a superhero. And it just sounds like it's going to be a fun read. So I really hope that I like it. And book 2 is coming out. So I must read book 1 before I get book 2. Clearly. I'm going to chat about is another thriller, and that's The Companion. Here is another picture. This was another book I was supposed to read for the fall, but I hope to tackle it in early 2021, hopefully. Well, she had a really, really hard life. Like, her parents wind up dying. She's lucky to survive a heart that killed her family. Lucky to have her own room before she wakes up screaming every night. But it wasn't much luck that made Sutton's rescue Margaret from the bleak existence at our group home. Margaret was handpicked to be a companion to a silent, mysterious girl named Agatha. But she starts to realize that maybe her task of helping this girl isn't what she thinks, and maybe there are some eerie and creepy things happening. So that reminds me a little bit of like The Secret Garden. Not like really, but a little bit like The Secret Garden. And I like eerie and creepy stories. It also has some elements of like a gothic creepy story. I'm also Horrors on my TBR, which is another one that has another like horror like element. So really excited for that and excited to pick up more thrillers in 2021 for sure. And the next book we're going to chat about is Super Fake Love Song by David June. Here's a picture. I heard some super mixed things about Frankly in Love, but this one sounds right up my alley. It follows this character or this young gentleman named Sunny Day, and he is all into like role playing and D&D. But when a girl believes he is in a band, he kind of takes on that personality, and I'm sure hilarity, drama, and maybe some romance will ensue. It's already out. I think my friend got me a copy for my birthday, so I might actually have a physical copy to read for Christmas, but I definitely want to read this because it sounds perfect for this time of year, and especially for February, during when I tend to read a lot of contemporaries. And then the next book I'm going to chat about is another contemporary that came out in early September, and that is Sources Say. I'm so upset I forgot about this one because this one would have been a great one to read around the election season because it has to do with election, and I'm just going to read the little blurb. But it says, 2 X's, 1 election, all the drama. A heartfelt novel about feuding execs fighting for class president and the scandal that makes the previously born school election the newish trending hashtag. That sounds great. I really hope that I like this. Again, it's probably another romance-themed novel, which I will definitely toss into my January and February TBR for sure, I hope. But yeah, so that's why it's on this list. The last book I'm going to chat about in this video is Rune Song, which here is the pretty cover. About this book, so I'm just going to read you guys a summary, but I've heard people really enjoying it recently. But this is a dark and lush LGBTQ plus romantic fantasy. Runesong, 2 young women from rival factions must work together to reunite their country as they wrestle with their feelings for each other. So another LGBTQ themed novel. That sounds great. The cover's pretty. So the first 5 books that I'm going to focus on for the first couple of months, or maybe the first 2 months, is the Van Beekers book 4, Fable and Namesake, All the Tides and Fates, Sky Hunter, and Taste of Love. Those are the 5 I'm going to focus on and try to really make a dent in those in January. That's my goal. see if I can do it. And let me know in the comments what are some of your NetGalley books or Edelweiss books that you hope to tackle or at least get your numbers up. And I will talk to you guys for another video soon. Tomorrow, actually. Bye, guys.